Good evening and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for April 13th, 2021 at 6:30 p.m. start. Let me begin with a thank you to the 527, I think was the count, of Wenham citizens that turned out for the special election. Thank you to all the candidates that ran. Congratulations to Trudy Reed, that is our new town clerk, and welcome to Catherine Harrison joining the board here for tonight. So indeed, tonight is now a formal Board of Selectmen meeting with a quorum. All right, thank you.
Hey. Thank you.
Slide. All right, so public input available. If anybody is out there, as usual, raise your hand in the chat and Jackie will take a look at the list.
So for folks that are interested in public input, you can just add your name to the chat. Going once, going twice, sold. No one, Mr. Chairman.
All right, so a lot to get done, so let's move forward then. Thank you. This is over to Tom for announcements.
Thank you. First announcement is one that we've been doing for a number of weeks regarding affordable housing opportunities in our town. The first is the Wenham Pines Affordable Housing Lottery. We have 2 units at the 55 and over condominium community, but young household members are welcome as part of the unit. Available for purchase, we have 1 2-bedroom unit at $130,000 and 1 3-bedroom unit at $150,000. There is income limits apply. Generally, for 1 person, it's $44,800. 2 people, $51,200. 3 persons, $57,600. And finally, for 4, $63,950. Applications are due on April 15th. That's 2 days from today. For April 20th lottery via Zoom. More information may be found at our website at wenham.gov/affordable. The second unit is a 2B Stockwell Lane, and that's a rental unit. It's 2 bedrooms equipped with a laundry and off-street parking. Available for rent of $1,600 per month, including trash and recycling. Please note the rent has been reduced from $1,840. Income limits do apply. 1 party is $67,400. 2 individuals, $77,000. 3 persons, $86,650. 4 persons, $96,250. Applications are due April 15th for the April 21st lottery via Zoom. This is note to all our residents. Our annual hydrant flushing begins on April 20th. Flushing will continue through May 7th and will be conducted between the hours of 8 and 2 p.m. Please be advised that you may be experiencing a drop in water pressure as well as some discoloration of the water during this process. The discoloration is only temporary and does not indicate a problem with the water. If your water becomes discolored, turn on an outside faucet to clear the water line before doing any laundry or cleaning. The water department will continue to monitor the water quality during this period to ensure that the water remains safe to drink. The town apologizes for any inconvenience this may cause, but flushing is a very important part of our system maintenance. Daily updates will be on our town's website. If there's any questions, please contact our water superintendent, Eric Mansfield, at 978-468-5520, extension 6, with any questions or concerns. Updates on our job postings, our job opportunities. We have a full-time opening in our highway department for a driver operator. If you're interested in applying, please look at our website at wenham.gov/jobs for more information, or call our highway department at 978-468-5520, extension 6. Another announcement again on boards and committee openings, and please be aware, these are the ones that we currently have vacant. There will be an update coming on shortly for all reappointments and appointments, but these are vacancies that we currently have on boards. If you're interested in submitting any, your interest in serving on these committees, please go on to our appointment request form at wenham.gov/volunteer, or by sending an email to the attention of the select board at nroebuck@wenham.gov. The openings are Cemetery Commission, 1 opening for a 3-year term, Conservation Commission for an opening for a 3-year term, Council on Aging Board for 1 opening, the Hamilton Wenham Community Access and Media, 2 openings, Cultural Council, 2 openings, Historic District Commission, 1 opening. Those are all 3-year terms. The Iron Rail Commission has an opening for a 2-year term. The Open Space and Recreation Committee has 2 openings for a 1-year term. That's actually one I recommend. That's usually a fun committee. So I would say that has some good openings there for you. And Zoning Board of Appeal has 3 associate members opening for staggered terms. Just reminder for some public meetings for the town. The resident budget forum will be on the air tomorrow, Wednesday, April 14th at 6:30 via Zoom. If you want the meeting link, please go on to wenham.gov. The warrant hearing is on Monday, April 26th at 7 o'clock via Zoom. Also for the meeting link, wenham.gov. Our annual town meeting will be Saturday, May 1st, 1 o'clock, rain or shine, at Pingree Park. If you're looking for details on that, wenham.gov/town meeting, and it is also under tent. The annual town election is on Thursday, May 6th, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m., Wenham Town Hall. Any details, please go on to wenham.gov/elections. Already mentioned the budget forum and the warrant hearing previously. Update on the annual town meeting. Voter check-in begins at noon on Saturday, May 1st, with the annual town meeting beginning at 1 o'clock. Parking at Pingree is through Route 1A, Main Street entrance, and at the library. The Porter Street entrance is for drop-off only. If you have any mobility concerns or reserved parking pass, please contact our Council on Aging. Reminder to our voters, please wear a face covering and bring your warrant books to the town meeting. This is just a map of showing the set where the parking is coming off. The main parking is coming off the main street, and your drop-off entrance is over by the library with satellite parking there. You can see the tent for 300 people in the middle of Pingree Park. And earlier mentioned the annual town election, but on Thursday, May 6th from 7 to 8, April 30th is your last day to request absentee ballot by mail. And May 5th at noon is the deadline for absentee voting in person. The positions that are up for election, 1 position on the Board of Assessors, 1 on the Board of Health, 1 on the Select Board, all 3-year terms. The Hamilton Wenham Library Trustees have 2 at-large positions for 3-year terms. The Regional School Committee has 2 positions for 3 years. Moderator, 1 position for a 3-year term. Planning Board has 1 position for a 5-year term. Water Commission, 1 position, 3-year term. And the Wenham Housing Authority has 2 positions. 1 is a 5-year term and 1 is a 3-year term. Announcement. I think people have been looking forward to this. We'll be having a public hearing on next Selectmen's meeting, Tuesday, April 20th at 6:30 via Zoom for the application for a new on-premise all alcohol beverage retail license at the Wenham Tea House as part of the process for their reopening. And some updates for me. This afternoon, we had a Zoom meeting with the North Shore Coalition, which is through the Metropolitan Area Planning Council. That's a group of mayors and managers from the North Shore region who discuss various items of interest. The major item of the meeting was discussing post-COVID and primarily the federal funding coming down. We do not yet know what the actual restrictions or process is. We do have an estimate for Wenham through the Mass Municipal Association. Mind you, this is an estimate, not necessarily the actual dollar amount that we will be receiving. But it is estimated that Wenham will receive $1.5 million. And generally, it's based a lot on your population. So obviously, parties such as Beverly, Peabody, Hamilton, Ipswich will be receiving more. But our estimation from MMA is 1.5 million going forth. And some of the items that you may be utilizing it for, but we're not certain what the restrictions are infrastructure, COVID related items, broadband items such as that. But we're waiting to get more information coming down. And once we receive that, I'll be more than happy to discuss that with the public and the select board. Next, what my intention is probably not at your next meeting, but the meeting after, will be have completed an update on the select board's FY19 goals. We're pretty much updated everything on here. There's just a few more I just have to work on, but they will be totally updated. What my goal is when the new town administrator comes on board and the select board ends up with 3 members, the full membership, is that you continue to have during the summer work on what your future goals are as a board. That really assists the town employees, the town administrator going forward, and it gives you something measurable to show for the town's record going forward. So I've enjoyed working on this, but this should actually be an annual yearly process. And so technically we're about 2.5 years behind, 2 years behind, but it will be caught up. Next, and I want to thank our team here, and I get to be the proud person to show this, but they did all the work. Our general code is now on our website. Our bylaws have been annotated, and it's actually very good reading for those who want to go onto the website. And it was done very well, and I want to thank everybody in town hall who worked on this. I know every department had a role in it, and town meeting for appropriating the funds. And I'm glad to see this has come here. This is something I've always supported in my career. What I intend on doing, and I had talked to the chair earlier about this, is what the code does. It also has a section about your local options, statutes that the town has accepted going back to 1882. And want to go through this and just go through what we're actually have accepted and what we're actually implementing going forward. So, obviously starting with 2018 and going backwards as much as I can. But I think this is really a good thing for people to see ongoing there. So I think that's where we are at this point, and I turn it back to the chair.
Thank you, Tom. And certainly, yes, a thank you for that big effort on the code. And we ought to shout out to Paul Weaver, who instigated that, I don't know, maybe a decade or so ago. So we're making progress here. Second thing I'd like to reemphasize too, and I know Catherine was involved in Affordable Housing Trust, but if anybody's been on any of the real estate websites lately, those 2 houses or 2 units on Main Street and the rental property are a really great deal if you know of anybody that can make the affordable income limits. So that's a great deal we ought to hopefully get some more interest in. All right, so unfortunately, we went a little bit the wrong way this week. So Mary Beth Ting, our public health nurse, on an update on COVID.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I am guardedly pleased to tell you that this week, as I ran the report before this meeting, It looks like in the coming weekly report, which will come out this Thursday, Wenham will move from red back down to yellow because there have been 20 cases in the last 14 days, whereas the previous week it was 26. So that is definitely an improvement. Between the time we met last week and this week, there have been 6 new cases in town. And I think there might be 1 or 2 additional probable cases. So we're still having activity in town. So I was just, if you look at the weekly report, it talks about the risk and it talks about the things that we should be doing. And vaccination is a really important tool in the toolkit. But additionally, we need to continue with the physical distancing with those not of our household, the properly fitting mask wearing, hand hygiene, staying home when you're sick. Those are still incredibly important things for us to do. The current case counts are posted up on the COVID-19 page of the town page, and it's currently at 273 confirmed and 26 probable cases. I would like to just take a brief moment because it was in the news. I'm going to just refer to a written statement. The FDA and the CDC announced today that they're putting a hold on the Johnson & Johnson Janssen vaccine. And I know that people might have real concerns about that. I would just say that in their comments, they said due to an extremely rare condition reported in 6 individuals nationwide, all providers are pausing administration until federal health experts investigate this matter. So there have been 6.8 million doses of the vaccine distributed in the United States and over 181,000 here alone in Massachusetts. There have been no cases of this extremely rare condition in Massachusetts at all. The CDC is convening a meeting with the advisory committee on immunization practices tomorrow, and they're going to be looking at the science and the studies with decisions about how long this pause will be and what next steps will be. So I will say that if anyone has received the J&J Janssen vaccine and you have any concerns whatsoever about how you're feeling with your health, if there's any problems with headache or abdominal pain or shortness of breath or leg pain, I would encourage you please to reach out to your healthcare provider. If you have a J&J appointment booked upcoming, reach out to the provider from whom you were supposed to receive the vaccine, and they will give you guidance as to what the next steps will be for rescheduling or whether they can book you with a different type of vaccine. I think that's about all that I have for you today. Any questions that I could try to? One final thing I'll say. Again, appreciation to both the Wenham Board of Health and the Hamilton Board of Health for their support of pool testing in the Hamilton Wenham District Schools, which continues to go apace and is going smoothly and well. I will just remind families from the school district and other residents that we have an upcoming school vacation. Please be mindful about the risks that you take, the exposures that you have on your vacation week to try to keep transmission down so that we can keep children actively engaged in their activities, including school and other activities. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mary Beth. Any questions, Catherine? Comments?
No, I'm all set. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mary Beth.
Thank you.
And we should say thank you to all those, I believe it's volunteers that are doing the pool testing. Is that correct, Mary Beth?
I am thrilled to say that we do have some paid staff that come through the contract that the school district has received, but I am very, very proud and grateful to Julie Clay and to Dorothy Gowdy, who have been helping me enormously at the middle school. I couldn't get the work done without them. So very well-trained, wonderful, civically minded volunteers from the town of Wenham. I'm very proud of them.
Thank you. All right, Jackie, next slide, please. All right, so earlier on in the year, we had a request for a legal expenses review. And certainly over these last few weeks, we've gone through many of the departments, hearing what they've been doing. And tonight, if we can put up that slide, Jackie, and we'll take a look at the outside legal expenses. All right, so first of all, thank you to Nikki Roebuck, who maintains and updates this spreadsheet. So indeed, legal expenses are closely monitored and tracked and broken down to individual cases or expense lines. Legal expenses, budget-wise, have been kind of difficult to predict, obviously. Historically, we've been plussing up that budget line. And if you look at the actuals down at the bottom of the page there, you'll see that year to year, they can vary quite a bit. But from 2017 to 2022, our upcoming budget, we've increased the budget line quite extensively. The other thing that you ought to recognize is as far as this year goes, we've expended about 78% of the budget line going through the first 8 months of the year. But if you look into the notes, you'll see that there's about an 8% return due back from Hamilton and about a 10% return due back from the Affordable Housing Trust. So actually, this year to date, we're slightly under budget, and hopefully we'll continue that way through the end of June. KP Law provides us great expertise on very wide-ranging areas, and including they support the town meetings coming up. One of the key questions that I had was under the FY21 general legal line that includes OML complaints, the Town Government Study Committee, the Board of Selectmen and clerk resignations, the Salem Beverly Water Board 32 Topsfield Road question, the Historic District Review, and the gazebo donation from last year. So that came in a little bit, so far, a little bit over expectations, but overall, the budget is still online for legal expenses. All right, Catherine, any comments on legal expenses?
No, thank you.
All right.
Mr. Chairman, if folks are not able to see the font size of this, I just want to make a note, and we included this in the chat, that this is in the packet for the meeting on the website if folks can't see it on the Zoom.
Yes, certainly, as you see, quite a
So,
wide-ranging spreadsheet there. So it is available in the packet if you want to go online. Thank you. And Catherine, update.
well, I don't have much of an update tonight, although I would like to thank as well everyone who came out and voted in the special election. I am very honored and grateful to be here, sitting here tonight in this position, and I look forward to the balance of the year that I have on the board. So thanks very much. That's it.
All right, so new business tonight. We have some appointments to make. Some of them are shifting around. So I think having talked with Tom, that as far as the Board of Registrars, we're ready to move forward with Trudy Reed. Is that correct?
Correct. That is, Mr. Chair, that is the one appointment you can make tonight
All right.
as the new town clerk. The other opening, our office will need to send by certified mail to the town committee to submit a name or a series of names to the board for their appointment. Also, by the way the board is set up, you may only have 2 members of one party listed. You can't do 3. You can have an unenrolled, but you can only have either 2 Democrat or 2 Republican. And with the appointment of the town clerk, who is a registered Republican, you have reached the limit on that line. So the open seat can either be an unenrolled or a Democrat.
Very well.
Can I interrupt for a minute? This is Trudy.
Yes, Trudy.
I just recently changed my party to unenrolled because the clerk is the only one who can be unenrolled. So I have changed that.
I know, just basic, we based it on your voter list, had you listed as an R. If
Right.
you-
As soon as I was elected and to be a neutral party, I went back to unenrolled.
Okay, that's fine. We'll just make that change, but we can still appoint you tonight.
All right. So if Catherine's, any comments, Catherine?
No, I pointed this concern out to Tom earlier, so I understand.
All right, so let's go with the motion. I move to appoint Trudy L. Reed to the Board of Registrars for a term beginning April 13th, 2021 through March 31st, 2023. Do I hear a second?
I will second that motion.
And the roll call vote. Catherine?
Catherine, yes?
Gary, yes. And congratulations to Trudy Reed, on the Board of Registrars now. Next appointment, Richard P. Maloney as the interim building inspector. The permanent building inspector resigned in February 2021. This request is to appoint Richard Maloney as interim building inspector until the funding is potentially approved at town meeting for the position to be changed to building commissioner, and the town of Hamilton initiates the hiring process for this joint position. Comments, Catherine?
Nope, I've been brought up to speed on this as well, and I'm familiar with it, so
All right.
I'm good.
The motion, I move to appoint Richard P. Maloney as interim building inspector for a term beginning April 13th, 2021 through June 30th, 2021. Do I hear a second?
Second. I'll second that.
And the roll call vote, Catherine?
Yes, Catherine.
Gary, yes. And Richard P. Maloney, congratulations on being our interim building inspector. All right. As we have not had a fully elected moderator recently, the previously elected town moderator resigned in May 2020. Tony Fahiri was appointed to fulfill this role for the July 2020 annual town election and the 2020 special town election. This request is to extend the appointment of Tony Fahiri as interim town moderator through the annual town election on May 6, 2021. So the actual acceptance of Mr. Fahiri as the moderator will occur at the annual town meeting, but the Board of Selectmen can make a motion to recommend that happens. Any comments, Catherine?
No, I think I'm understanding the process. So we're making a recommendation to, this vote would make a recommendation to town meeting, and then at town meeting, there would be an election of sorts to codify him as I think it's actually the temporary town moderator, but that's me being very picky. But that's what we need to do, right? To this and a town meeting.
And this actually occurred at both that last July and the fall town meeting. So that's right at the beginning of the meeting, we'll confirm that. So in the meanwhile, I will make a motion to recommend Anthony M. Fahiri as interim town moderator for a term beginning April 13th, 2021 through the annual town election. A second?
I'll second that.
And roll call vote, Catherine?
Catherine, yes.
Gary, yes. And we have recommended Anthony Fahiri as the interim town moderator for the upcoming town meeting, which I hope everybody's going to be there, 1 o'clock on May 1st. All right. So we have a appointment for a police deputy chief, and is Chief Perkins on tonight? No?
Is not Gary.
Okay, we have Assistant Chief DiNapoli. Would you like to just review this process for us?
Yes, as we all know, Chief Perkins notified the town that he would be stepping down in November. He let us know that he would be ending his 35-year career on April 30th. So at that time, it was motion was accepted for me to step in, and then that created the vacancy for my position as deputy chief. We had a process starting in January, a thorough process that Detective Lucantoni participated in. It consisted of a pretty dense written project, also an oral board process and a scenario-based exercise. He did phenomenal. He also comes with a great amount of experience working as second in command in a different agency with 25 years of police experience, a great deal of which was in the detective division for the agency that he worked in. So we're beyond excited to have him step into the position, and are hoping a contract can be negotiated accordingly.
Thank you. So Catherine, I think you've seen the lengthy resume that Detective Lucatoni comes with. Any other comments?
No, I did see it, and thank you for all of the explanation. I've known Detective Lucantoni for a number of years, and I could not imagine. I'm very thrilled that there's someone within our ranks who will be able to do this deputy chief job. So I'm all set to vote.
All right. And I too was able to sit in on some of that process, so very impressed. So I move to appoint Jason Lucatoni as Police Deputy Chief for a term beginning May 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2021, pending successful contract negotiations with the board. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And the roll call vote, Catherine?
Yes, enthusiastically, Catherine.
Gary, yes. And congratulations to Jason Lucatoni.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yep.
I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
All right. So next item is a discussion regarding a Pleasant Pond 2021 season. Catherine, would you like to take the lead on this?
Sure. I'll have some thoughts later, but this one I do have a few comments on, but I would love to have a review of where we are and what this particular issue is about. I think it might be useful for the public. I'm thinking. So I don't know who would do that, but it's in our packets, but it would be, I think, good to review for a minute tonight.
Yes. So the Pleasant Pond, what we're speaking about is the beach area. And as you know, with the pandemic last year, it was essentially closed down. That in the meantime, Hamilton has initiated a move to probably withdraw their financial support for this. And so that we're in a position where we do not have funding in this current fiscal year through the end of June to open Pleasant Pond. However, we could do a funds transfer to do that, primarily because if we're going to get the lifeguards and the employees to run the place, we really need to get them hired at the start of the season. So the question, I think, goes out to the public at large, if they have any comments, to email Catherine or myself on this as to whether we want to continue on town of Wenham solely operating the Pleasant Pond Beach. And if we do open it up, I think we're looking at probably a 8 to 9 week season, because we'll have to get the employees in place and make sure that anything that degraded over the past year gets back up to speed. Assistant Chief DiNapoli, do you have any background to add to this?
No, we're luckily in very good shape relative to the coverage that's needed for the gatekeeper and lifeguard. We have a lot of returning people, which is going to make it easier. And Chief Perkins has a template in place that is, easy for Detective, soon to be Deputy Chief Lucantoni, and I to kind of step in and get things rolling again. But we feel confident that we can run a seamless operation.
Jackie.
So Gary, I just wanted to remind the public too, if folks have not looked at the packet and the memo, the two real policy implications for the select board to look at between tonight and next Tuesday are the change of the Hamilton resident fee schedule for Pleasant Pond, as well as police recommended the change of no one under 12 can be unaccompanied without someone over the age of 18. So I just think it's important for the public to know that those are the two big policy considerations that we're looking for select board approval on at next week's meeting. I just think it's good for folks to understand those are the two main decisions that we're looking to get from the board.
And Tom will back me up on this, but I think we did fully fund the operation for FY '22. So from 1 July going forward, if it passes the annual town meeting, the funding would be in place. All right, so, and as.
Yes.
Yes, yes. And we should also say too that, we have done sticker sales in the past, but we should be forthright and say that the sticker sales only partially cover the actual cost of the operation. So if you have comments, please call into Tom at the town hall or email Catherine and myself, and we'll take a final look at this hopefully next week, because we do need to get it in place if we're going to go that route. Anything else?
Gary, may I make just a couple of comments on this as we go forward? Is that okay?
Yes, yes.
So I, again, pretty familiar with Pleasant Pond. Thrilled to hear that we actually have some money in the budget to open it. It is a, great resource, and our only beach, but a great resource for the community members. And I know the folks that live in that area have done a lot of work to keep it going, and certainly the police as well. This has never, in my knowledge, been a break-even situation with or without Hamilton. The sticker, which are really parking fees, have never covered the, and would be astronomical if we hoped to cover the cost, the expenses. So relative to the two sort of policy issues that we're talking about, I completely understand the idea of not having anyone under 12 be at the beach unaccompanied. Considering the beach, who we have as gatekeepers and lifeguards, that makes a lot of sense to me, and I hope people would pay attention to that. Relative to the sticker prices, honestly, just I would be very interested. I don't know how that we would hear from Hamilton folks. I get the fact that since Hamilton is not participating in the costs this year, I think that's finalized. Is that true? But I think it is. It's that they are going to have to pay more for the stickers than they did last year, or than folks in Wenham who are paying for this through their taxes as well. My issue is with the difference, the increase. So the proposal here, I believe, shows the usual, I think this is the usual $25 for the first car in Wenham resident and $10 for the second car. I've always thought that was pretty reasonable for a beach sticker, and I continue to think that. But to jump from that $25 in Hamilton to $100, I mean, for Wenham, and $100 for Hamilton, seems to me maybe a little bit too big a delta between the cost of those two stickers. If we were going to, close the gap and pay for the whole thing, and that's what was going to do it, I'd feel differently about that. But this is really just sort of an offset. And I think that $100 for the beach probably is a lot, and may significantly impact the number of Hamilton folks that come. I don't think that's the intention. So I would just like us to talk about, maybe Gary, or think about, or hear from the community about some number for Hamilton residents that's perhaps something less than, 3 times what, more than 3 times, 4 times what Wenham residents would pay. So that's really my only comment on this particular issue.
Very well, because I
Thank you.
think too, as you say, there has to be some differential there, as we're losing some subsidy there. But given that it is only a partial offset to the total budget, we'll take a look at that. So again,
Okay.
if you got ideas, and welcome input from Hamilton residents that have used Pleasant Pond in the past, let us hear from you as well. All right.
Great. All right, that's it for me on that. Thank you.
Onward then. All right, so tonight, I believe we have a separate slide with Bill Wilson. Is he on?
Yeah, I'm here, Kerry.
And I think Jackie is bringing up some slides.
Yep.
So the town of Wenham has looked as a financial situation to trim costs, control costs where we can. And one area that came to in front of us is the fact that there might be benefits to changing the location of our Wenham Veterans Service Provider. Currently, we are in a group with other towns in the Eastern Essex District, and we may be moving to the Cape Ann District. But Bill Wilson is from a Wenham's Veteran Committee and our representative to the board at Eastern Essex. These slides for us, Bill? Tell us.
Everybody hear me?
Yes.
Okay, we're required by law to provide a veteran service officer for the town of Wenham, where if a veteran has an issue, he can call the veteran service officer and any type of service-related issues can be handled. So it's required by law. We have 135 veterans in town right now to be covered. Next chart. So we've done a study. Last year, we were given a task to try and reduce costs by then town administrator to come up with creative ways. And we did a study on that. And we were really seeking an equivalent cost competitive alternative to Eastern Essex. And we've been busy with that over the past year. So the current provider right now is Eastern Essex Veteran District. And we have been talking with and meeting with Cape Ann Veteran District going forward here. The rationale for change is, the Eastern Essex is a great group of people, Karen Tyler, Kathy Collins. I can't say enough about those VSOs up there, the dedication to the veterans there. They've done a great job for us, but it's purely a budgetary concern that we have for going forward here. Specifically, we get allocated on census basis, and we have the Gordon College students up there at 255 Grapevine Road, which are 20% of the census of Wenham. And then we generally have a small number of veterans in Wenham, 135 to be exact. And it really results in an unfavorable cost allocation when you start to look at things there. So we studied it, but transition to Cape Ann Veteran District will reduce the cost by 45% for the town of Wenham, and it will not sacrifice the quality of veteran services, which is the key point. Next chart. This is a picture of the district right there. On the upper left hand, you can see the Eastern Essex Veteran District. There are 7 towns there in blue to include Wenham. Hamilton was part of that last year and withdrew for essentially the same reason that we're withdrawing right now, and went to Cape Ann Veteran District, which is shown in gray, that includes Rockport, Gloucester, Manchester by the Sea, and Hamilton. So there's 7 communities in Eastern Essex. There are 4 communities in the Cape Ann District up there. They have 1 full-time VSO that we have met with, very competent, have full confidence in he'll be able to provide the services that our veterans need going forward here. And he has 1 assistant as well. Next chart. We didn't take this lightly. We vetted this. We met with a number of people and briefed them all, stakeholders, to include then Board of Selectmen, Gary, of course, got him involved, the financial committee, town administrator, on the rationale for the veteran service change. And then we brought it before the Wenham's Veterans Committee just a few weeks ago for a vote. And the Veterans Committee unanimously voted 8-0, recommending a change of the veteran service providers from Eastern Essex to Cape Ann. So they fully support, the Veterans Committee fully supports a transition of veteran service providers. Next chart. So scheduling, where are we on this thing? We're here today, the Board of Selectmen. We, the Veterans Committee, are recommending withdrawal from Eastern Essex Veteran District and joining the Cape Ann Veterans District for Veteran Services. What would be required pending selectmen approval would be formal notification to Eastern Essex of Wenham to withdraw from the district. We have to write them and all surrounding communities in that district there a note saying that we will be withdrawing. It's got to be done 60 days prior to the 1st of July. So the 20th of April is the right time to do that. We've already given them a heads up that this is coming down the line there so that they can balance their budgets. So our last day with Eastern Essex will be the 30th of June for our veterans to seek any type of services from Eastern Essex. And then we stand up with Cape Ann on the 1st of July. So we're here tonight to make a motion to withdraw from the Eastern Essex Veteran District and join the Cape Ann Veteran District veteran districts for veteran services. So I make that motion to the board. If there's no discussion.
All right, thank you, Bill. So I think the main points Bill went over is it's been very thoroughly vetted. The fact and the most critical factor is that there will be no change or degradation in services to any of the veterans. Catherine, your comments?
Yeah, I have a question. It's when people start in municipal government, they oftentimes complain that we study things too much and that it takes too long. I quite frankly am glad that this was carefully studied. A, because it's good, and B, because I'm pretty familiar with this since we've been talking about it for the last year or more. But my question, and I think this is just a confirmation, is our Wenham's representation, what it would look like in the Cape Ann Veterans Group relative to Eastern Essex. I'm presuming they each have a board and that we would have a seat on that board, but I just wanted to confirm that our representation and our authority, I guess, doesn't change when we change boards.
Yeah, so with Eastern Essex, there is a board of director, which I served on briefly after John Clemenzi left there. And with the Cape Ann, there is not a board of directors, but with the very strong Veterans Committee that we have, the VSL will join us on a monthly basis to talk with us, to advise if anything's going on in the community. Once again, this is a one-on-one thing with the veterans, the town of Wenham veterans, with a veteran service officer. That if there's an issue, they go and talk to him and get issues and so forth. There's HIPAA laws associated with that type of thing, so we don't get too involved with that. We do get involved if the veterans come to us and say, hey, no one's listening to me, I got a problem. And the committee, Veterans Committee in Wenham, is 9 strong, very active, and we'll be monitoring this very closely.
Okay, thank you for that. Just a follow on though, I presume there, in addition to the money, I know that we budget in Wenham for specific services for specific veterans. I believe that the Essex district, the Essex County Veterans District had its own budget, which technically required approval. So is there a Cape Ann Veteran Services budget that we would see or anything?
We'll get billed, to the lack of a better term, yearly of I think it's $15,000 flat fee for that stuff. And if there's any Chapter 115 costs associated with the veterans in town, then we'll get billed directly for that as well. And there's a separate line item budget in the Wenham budget for to carry that.
Right. Okay. Thank you. From a comment point of view, I will say that I've spoken to a lot of veterans, and folks in Gloucester seem quite happy with the services here. So if we can provide our veterans equal services for less money in a way that works for everyone, I think this is a great thing to do.
Yeah, thanks. We get great feedback from Hamilton as well, that they're very pleased with the transition and services provided by Cape Ann. So it's a no risk for our veterans in town.
Okay, thank you.
Very well then. Tom, yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just to citizens maybe watching tonight, under Massachusetts general law, if you are in a veterans district, technically you need to be contiguous to all the communities. When Hamilton withdrew last year, we technically were no longer contiguous in the district. They allowed us to remain, but we were not connected to the other communities. We're more an island there. With the Cape Ann district, we are now contiguous with that district because of being adjacent to Hamilton. Essex never enforced it. The Division of Veteran Services never enforced it, but technically we were not in compliance.
All right. Thank you. Then I think this has been well studied, and I'll go ahead and make the motion then. I move to approve the request to withdraw from Eastern Essex County Veterans District for Veteran Services effective June 30th, 2021, and for Wenham to join the Cape Ann Veterans Services effective July 1st, 2021. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And a roll call vote. Catherine?
Catherine A. Aye, yes.
And Gary, aye, yes. And that is approved. So thank you to the Veterans Committee and especially to Bill Wilson that did all the legwork on this. And as we depart Eastern Essex, yeah, just want to echo one more time that the services we received there from Karen Tyler and the crowd were very good, but money drives it. And I think this is the way to go. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Okay, discussion and potential recommendations on annual town meeting warrant articles. So we can step through these now that we have a quorum. The FinCom at their last meeting made their recommendations. And if we want to discuss and make our recommendations here on the individual articles, we can. So let's, we have this Article 1 in front of us now. I'll let you take the lead on these, Catherine, if
I have, been following Finance Committee and the budget process. It's kind of one of those strange things that I do. So I'm very comfortable and pleased actually, and a little surprised that the folks at Town Hall have done an excellent job putting together this budget, especially in this year without an override. And also, I think thanks to the school district who showed a lot of restraint in their budgeting and was able to provide us a number that doesn't require an override. So I am ready to make a recommendation, and I will make the motion, or if you can, Gary, whatever is your pleasure. Because this is my favorite motion. On this article, I move that the Wenham, are we select board or a board of selectmen? I'll use Board of Selectmen because I think that's what we still are legally. I move that the Wenham Board of Selectmen vote to recommend favorable action at the annual town meeting on the annual operating budget appropriations.
I
Is there
second.
a second?
Gary seconds.
And a roll call.
Gary,
Catherine.
right.
We'll get better at this, Gary.
Been a while.
Catherine. Yes, it has. We got to hit our stride. Catherine, yes.
And Gary, yes. All right. This is the free cash one.
Yeah. So if I'm understanding this correctly, we have two free cash articles. One is this one, the use of free cash to actually balance the operating budget to fill the gap between the levy limit and what we need for expenses. And that amount is $826,178.
No, that's
not right.
free cash. Jackie, do you have the
Oh, yes.
number here?
It's
316,400.
All right, 316,400.
Okay. Yeah, so this is a pretty standard article, and I'm glad to see that we're using proportionally a little bit less free cash than we have in the past to balance the budget. So I'm all set with this one as well. And if you'd like, I will move that the Board of Selectmen in Wenham recommend favorable action on, I don't know, we don't have numbers on these, but on the article, the free cash article you're using to balance the budget.
Second, says Gary.
Catherine, aye.
Gary, aye. So that one is recommended.
I would, this next article, I understand what it is. There's a balance of free cash, a sum of money of free cash that is being proposed to use for one-time capital expenses. I would appreciate, I think for the public's and my edification, I guess, if we could just quickly go through the line items that we're going to recommend for this expenditure of, well, not expenditure, use of free cash. So I don't know, Jackie,
Or Tom.
who do I ask? Tom?
Fine. The first letter A is basically the annual appropriation for the police's replacement cruiser. In my lifetime, my career, generally their life expectancy is about 3 years. If you stretch it, you can make it to 5, but generally you have an annual replacement cruiser in most town government budgets annually at 40. So we're just doing this as a group. We're not doing this separate items then. The replacement rifles, that's part of the second of a 3-year program. You've already funded last year. The first year, this is $2,600. Third is the supplemental allocation for the library roof replacement project. That's $75,000. Next is letter D, which I've been recommending and our team has also concurred, is the compensation and classification study for the town for $15,000. That will include general government and union employees. We are going into negotiations. I probably won't be here then, but you'll be going to negotiations later this year, and this will be a wonderful tool to be included in that. And last, letter E, basically my favorite, because I love to plan moving forward, is the townwide master plan for $125,000, which will be assisting us in planning our community's future.
So do I have the sum right? $259,600 for this article. I just have 2 comments, and Gary, I'm sorry if you've already discussed this. If it's I only have 2 comments. I think this is great. I also, having been closely involved with I think the last full compensation and classification study that we did, 2015-ish, understand the absolute necessity and usefulness of this, not only for hiring, but for internal equity, a whole lot of best practices reasons. So I would highly endorse the compensation and classification study. And I think I've already gone on record on several occasions about how important I think it is for there to be a townwide master plan. So I'll leave it at that. Gary.
Very well. So yes, all 5 of these items have been vetted all through the budget process. And certainly it was a unanimous vote at FinCom. We're strongly in favor and looking forward to getting the master plan in place. And as Tom said, given that we're moving into negotiations and just for the equity amongst all our employees, the compensation and classification study, which will be 6, almost 7 years old by the time we get this one in place, is very important. All right, then your motion then, Catherine?
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen recommend favorable action on the article discussing the use of free cash to fund FY22 capital improvement program.
Gary seconds.
Catherine, I.
Gary, aye. So recommend favorable action.
Right. The next one is the consent calendar. I think if my thinking is that if people are really interested in these everyday sort of transactions, they should tune into the budget forum tomorrow night. But these seem like pretty routine yearly transactions. And so I don't have any further comment on those.
Well, let me add one point. This has come up in the past, but I think, certainly we don't want to unbalance or change things right at this moment before town meeting. But over the next year, we need to look at the cemetery trust fund, particularly the sale of lots fund. That we got in that habit, I think, maybe 10 years ago of using that to plus up the general fund. But, I really don't see it as a very wise move to sell off capital asset, that is the lots there, and then just use that for continuing operations. I would much rather see that go into a perpetual care fund that's already established, so that eventually we can get the whole cemetery operation off the books. So that's something for the year ahead. Otherwise, your motion then, Catherine?
Okay, I move that the Board of Selectmen recommend favorable action on the consent calendar for the warrant for the annual town meeting.
Gary seconds.
Catherine, I.
Gary, aye.
Okay. Do we have more tonight?
Jackie, or is that others for next week?
So those are it for tonight. The last item is just to ratify, validate, and confirm the content and execution of the entire warrant.
All right. So, yeah, so the warrant is going to be sent out when, Jackie?
So it's already on the wenhamma.gov site for those who want to look at it online, and it should be arriving at households in time for the warrant hearing on April 26th.
All right, so over the next week or 10 days, we should be receiving that in the mail. So any discussion here, Catherine?
A question, I think. This looks as if it's requesting a vote, a ratification vote, and I'm wondering if there's a time factor to that, because since I haven't actually had an opportunity to study the rest of the warrant articles, I have no doubt that they're fine, but I'm a little reluctant to vote to ratify them until I've had a chance to really look at especially the last couple warrant articles. But if it's time we need to do it, I'm sure it's fine.
Can we roll this to next week, Tom or Jack?
So I did speak with Lauren Goldberg, who's our town council for town meeting related matters on Friday. We were working out a couple of details, and this was one that she advised that we take care of at the first meeting. We did have quorum. And then next week we have an item for all the other items that Gary executed as a solo select person to ratify those, but this was somewhat time sensitive in her opinion when we spoke on Friday.
So I'll leave it to you, Catherine. Yeah, the next week we'll do the recommendations on the other articles.
Mm-hmm.
This is just to confirm the content execution of the warrant going into town meeting. So
Right.
we'll do it next week. What do you?
I understand, and I imagine that there would be some situations that would be time sensitive. I have no reason to doubt the execution of this warrant. I presume the election warrant is all set and signed and whatever. So if we need to take a vote on that tonight, I'm fine.
Catherine, if I may, this is the warrant for the meeting and the election. So this one document includes
correct.
The warrant for both, just to be clear.
Yeah. Yes, I recall. Thank you. So yeah, if we need to vote on this tonight, I'm fine to do that.
Is there a motion here, Jackie?
I'm sorry, there's not like a written motion. It would just be to move to vote to ratify.
So then I'll move that the Board of Selectmen vote to ratify, validate, and confirm the content and execution of the annual town meeting and election warrant. Do I hear a second?
Second.
And the roll call vote.
Catherine, I.
Gary, aye. Completed.
So this is also has my name next to it, and I do know what the Acela contract is, and I'm familiar with it originally, but I feel like it would be great, unless no one else wants to do this, to just have a little update on what this is by whomever would be doing that update, and then I'm happy to make the motion.
So I believe I'll point the aim at Jackie. As always, the expert on the administrative matters here.
Yep. So this is just an amendment. So we currently have a contract with Acela. They do our software for our finance office, SoftWrite, but we also utilize them for the Acela Civic platform, which is the tool we use for all of our permitting and land use data. So if folks might remember, we got a grant from the state a few years ago to do a conversion from our old software to this new program. And we had it set up so that at some point Hamilton would be joining on with us. And at this point, they're not doing that. So we're reducing, the contract is funded through a per user amount. So we're looking to amend the contract to reduce the number of users to reduce our costs. So we still would have our Wenham Inspectional Services and Land Use Office users as well as the inspectors themselves, but we would not have the admin folks from the Hamilton Inspectional Services and Land Use offices. So we're reducing those users to reduce the costs. And this reduction in costs is the only change to this contract. With the exception that instead of this now being year 3 of the initial contract, this will now be year 1 of the new contract because we're looking to move forward with them. So there will be a 5% increase for fiscal 23 and fiscal 24, but this is roughly $11,000 to $12,000 reduction for fiscal 22 from what we had initially anticipated for fiscal 22. And the reduction of this is included in the FY22 balanced budget request because it is a bit administrative, but it does need BOS approval so that we can move forward. Just a note that I've been really appreciative of this software throughout the pandemic. It's enabled folks to apply online for permits when we were closed to the public. During those early days of the pandemic, enabled us to continue to issue and go through the paperwork process. So we've been reasonably pleased with the product.
Thank you, Jackie. Any other comments, Catherine?
No, I understand, and I believe it's a service that has been, I'm hearing Jackie, and I believe it's a service that's been very useful, and kudos to be able to get the same service for less money. So I'm all set with that.
Right. I think this is your motion then.
Okay, I move to approve the first amendment to the contract between Acela Services and the town of Wenham through June 30th, 2024.
Second, Gary.
Yes. Catherine, I.
Gary, aye.
Oh, I guess that's that one. I'm sorry to go back for a second. Should it have a start date? So I'm looking at this on the corner of my eye. It says through June 30th, but it's beginning
Right now.
Okay, that's fine.
We could indicate that it is as of effective immediately, if that's helpful.
It would probably be clearer to someone who's looking at this in 5 years and wondering, although I think the general assumption is that when we vote on something, it becomes effective. But I might offer a friendly amendment suggestion to just say effective immediately.
All right, so Catherine Tinsley, you got that?
Catherine's
I
not
do.
going to be happy with the way I did that, but thank you, Catherine, giving me a little break tonight.
Yes.
You're a little rusty. Thank you.
Right.
Oh, thanks. Okay, now I'm done with that. Sorry.
Item F then is a vote to sign the grant of easement at 78 Larch Row. So Article 7 back on the October 17th warrant special town meeting last fall requested an easement for the purposes of adding a telephone pole on the property adjacent to Larch Row to allow for electrical service to one outbuilding for cold storage of produce grown on the property currently leased by the Food Project from the Town of Wenham Conservation Commission. The article was approved back at that special town meeting. The contract was reviewed by the town council, and after a variety of edits, the final version is ready for approval and signatures of the select board tonight. So this is a single telephone pole, and the whole purpose is to deliver electricity to the Food Project so they can have refrigeration there for their fresh produce. But being an easement on town land, it has come to the Board of Selectmen for a final vote. Comments, Catherine?
Just one again. This is one that's been around for a little while, so I'm familiar with what is happening. I'm always very grateful when our contracts are reviewed by town council, and I'm glad to see that that's the case here as well. So I'm all set.
Yeah, I'm glad that we can get this done for the Food Project too. A very
Yeah.
member.
Yep.
And I move to approve the contract between the Town of Wenham, Massachusetts Electric Company, Verizon New England Incorporated for the requested grant of an easement at 78 Larch Road. Second.
I'll second. Second, Catherine.
And vote, Catherine.
Aye.
Gary, aye, and that passes. Thank you. All right, other matters as may not have been reasonably anticipated by the chair. Do you have anything, Catherine?
I do not.
Right.
Thank you to everyone.
Just on a scheduling note, I think with the summer appointments and certainly issues that are coming up before town meeting, the need to go through the rest of the warrant articles, I anticipate that we'll continue Board of Selectmen meetings on a weekly basis until we get through town meeting, and then we'll have a third board member. So I expect a couple of weekly meetings in May as we have a town administrator selection process to get through. But thereafter, first I want to say thank you to the town hall staff that have supported this weekly process. But I think at that point, probably as we get into June, we'll be able to revert back to a regular 2-week process and utilize the first and third Tuesdays for a Board of Selectmen meeting. So that's just a little heads up there.
Okay.
All right. Well, very good. Welcome on board to our new appointees and such. And we'll see you next Tuesday for the second Board of Selectmen meeting.
Would you like a motion to adjourn,
Yes.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I will make a motion to adjourn our meeting this evening.
Second. And
Catherine, I.
Gary, aye. Thank you very much. And thank you for all that attended. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Right.
Good night.